warrior poets, tyrants, philosopher kings, despots, divine emissaries, abominations, wise men, arrogant devils, benevolent masters, tormentors, emperors. Following its defeat of the Mahakt kings, slowly but surely, the unequivocally brilliant, dynamic, and ambitious Lazak civilization brought order and control to the galaxy. It is estimated more than 80 major systems were under the peaceful dominance of the Lazaks by the time that the first emperor declared the Imperium from his throne on Mecatol Rex, and there founded the Galactic Council. After the declaration of the Imperium, countless more came to submit to the Lazak sovereignty. Over the following 3 millennia, the Lazaks would generously and freely offer protection and peace to the other galactic races that came in contact with the Empire, and most accepted. Thus began the long rule of the Lazaks, a rule which continued for nearly 30 millennia. It was a time of unparalleled peace and development, a golden age for all the myriad races that dwelt within the bounds of the Imperium. It was during this golden age that the first of the great races began to make a name for themselves, rising to power under the Lazak's rule. The Hylar of Jolnar, the great trade empire of the Hakan, the Federation of Humans in the Sol System, all of them became rich and powerful during the peace of the Lazaks. Whatever ambition they or the other great races may have had was inconsequential, for the relative military strength and the martial knowledge of the imperial race at this time were described as being nothing less than all-powerful, and was matched only by their exceptional devotion to balance and order. And so the races of the galaxy flourished, enjoying the magnificent peace of the Empire. Miraculous technologies were developed, great monuments erected, entire worlds, once no more than barren deserts, were terraformed into lush Edens, and ever did pilgrims, faithful to the gene sorcerer's charge, search for the promised planet of Ixth. Grand expeditions were launched, with the galaxy now having long forgotten the terrible scourge of the Mahakt. In fact, many of these searches were made with Imperial funding, as even the Lazaks had forgotten their history. Throughout the galaxy echoed that final edict of the Mahakt kings: find Ixth, the paradise planet. But at least for now, Ixth remained lost, and more pressing problems began to face the galaxy. Even as the Empire flourished, whispers of unrest began to take hold. Beneath the veneer of prosperity and advancement festered a complacency that would see the Lazaks Empire to its end. As time passed, the Lazaks emperors had grown comfortable in their lofty position. Resting on their laurels, concerns over the governance of the empire were gradually replaced by petty internecine squabbles and political maneuverings. While the strength of the Lazaks was still irrefutable, the emperors had grown blind to the ever-growing ambition of the other great races. In time, the empire began to reach both physical and technological boundaries, and expansion slowed. With this slowdown, wealth and power became perceived as finite, and it is from finite power that its 3 wicked children are born: greed, corruption, and betrayal. And so followed the Age of Dusk, a time of intrigue, strife, and gathering storms. And as these storms roiled, the Lazaks did nothing, for after nearly 20 millennia of rule, they had come to forget the bitter sting of winter, and they had not the wisdom to see the rot beneath their feet. Then came the spark that would ignite chaos throughout the Empire. The Letnev, one of the first civilizations uplifted by the Lazaks, had grown frustrated with overbearing imperial sanctions and set up a blockade in protest around the Quan wormhole. The obstruction of one of the galaxy's major trade routes did not sit well within the Empire. The blockade obstructed significant Sol trading and prevented vital supplies from reaching a handful of Sol colonies that soon were struck by famine and disease. After nearly 8 months of fruitless debate in the Galactic Council, the patience of the Sol Federation ran dry. The humans of Sol, the youngest of the great races and one which fostered no great love for the Letnev, fired upon the blockade, annihilating the Letnev forces there and igniting full-scale war between the two powers. Angered by the unilateral militancy of both Letnev and Sol, the Emperor attempted to consolidate his control by issuing the Mandu Edict, a rule which would place all warships under direct Imperial supervision. This edict was the stone that shattered the brittle empire, as the Lazak's military attempted, unsuccessfully, to intervene in the conflict. The Lazaks drew the ire of both sides. Soon, both Sol and Letnev had seceded from the Imperium, declaring war against both the Lazaks and each other. The Twilight Wars had begun.